We might be on one site for about 2 seconds, just so that I can show you where to go so that you can see. And that's a lot of what our slides are about. So when you open up your NTS system, this is what you're gonna say. You're gonna have to put your password in and click OK, and boom, next one. You have to keep up with me.
I'll just try to do that one. But it's not doing it. Maybe I need to do it this way then. Sorry, learning part of this, but we'll get it. Oh, no, let's do this one here. I think I know why now. What am I doing wrong? There we go.
Okay. So once you click in, these are the 5 modules you're going to see once you go in. They're the contributions, the checkbook, the reports, the setup, the back and restore, and the exit. Next module. When you go into the setup, these are the 3 areas you go to. Set up your church information, your passwords, you click your cloud accounts. Okay. This, am I going too fast? I have a tendency to talk fast when I get nervous.
Well,
so
then slow down.
just tell me to slow down. Okay. In your setup, basically, you just put your church name in there, your address, information, your federal ID number, email, your pastor, and all that basic information. Next. Then you put in your master password. The thing is, when I will open this up, there are passwords in there for us. I don't use any of them, except when I go into the system. So I'm not exactly sure how those work. Do any of you guys use these passwords? And do they work? Okay. I have to figure out how they work. Okay, next one. We're going to go into the contributions module. And under the setup, and this is your drop-down list, your names list, service list, fund list, and the others. So this is your name list. This is where you can add people. You put their name, their address, their information. You can delete them. You can edit them. You can combine contributions with them. I've never done that, but I'm sure it's pretty simple. And then down here, you can list your sort your options down here. And at the top, you have print envelopes, print labels, print the directory, and export. So those are your options on there. Next one. Next is a service list. Okay. Your service list is now obviously this is from the district level. These are different things like you see at the top, it says 2021 apportionments. That's the money that you send in to me. That's important. That's the main thing. And then I have WEF, I have PB, I have MNU, I have Kansas City District, Kansas City District Plant, SDMI, NMI, NYI. So this service, like for a local church, would be like your morning worship service or other services you have, your midweek services, different things. Or if you want to use that more of a, like what I have done, could be like your building fund and then, you know, you have 2 topics. The service would be the first one, and then you would have, which we're going to see is the next one, which is the fund. But this is pretty much your services, like I said before. Okay. Then the fund list. The fund list is, like I said, there's our WEF, there's our MNU, our PB. These are the types of accounts that you have. This would be like your building fund, your alabaster, your mission specials, camps, anything and everything that you are collecting money for. You identify it here, this level, as the fund. So like I have alabaster, we've gotten some from that. We've gotten our ministry team, churches get money. We have our leadership development funds that I identify here. We have a ministerial schools here. I identify the different kind of school, the classes that people pay for. So the fund is where you get more identifiable. You identify the funds that are coming in. Now, under the contribution, you have these reports. In the first, you have the contribution report, the totals report, and the deposit slip, and the other 3 I don't really use. So I'm going to show you the totals report. When you're done putting in your offering, say on a Sunday morning, you put everybody in, you put everything that's been brought in, then you come over here to this totals report, and it will tell you what you've inputted. Now, this is the report you can verify your totals with if you're depositing. And at the top, you have your exit. You can print it. You can export it. Usually it's a CSV file, and you can save it and then open it up and save it as an Excel. But you have filters here. You have services, and then you have funds, and then you can show them by names or types. So if you want, like, I just looked up all the apportionments that the churches have given for the whole year. So I said 2021 apportionments, and it listed every single church and what they gave me, and all those 6 different funds. That's all that I asked for, so that's what it gave me. So you can go down as far as the funds and ask for specific funds. Like if you want to know, okay, who contributed NYI camp funds? Who contributed children's fund? This will tell you, and it'll give you the total. This is the next report is the contributor report. This will give it by who gave it to you. It'll list their name, and it'll tell you what they gave on that particular date. You see over there on the far right, on April 30th, this is what was given. And you can do a range. You don't have to do a specific date. If you want to know the whole month, you just put that range in the top, and it'll give you all that stuff. And then here, you also have the filters, which you can identify if you want to filter down to a specific fund you're looking for was given. So this was what was given the day on April 30th to the district. And the other report I use is a deposit slip. After all those things are confirmed, I print up a deposit slip because my deposit slip, I do not do it by check. I do it by subject. Like people, the amount of money that's coming in for more apportionments. I put a total there. And I put, and if they giving me money for dental or health, that way the deposit slips identifies the subject. And so you can print these off and you can actually take them to the bank. I've been told, I've not used them, but that's all I did. Pardon me?
We use them.
Yeah, so I take those 3 reports and I put them together and I put them in my deposit folder, keep them all together, to identify what has happened for that day's activity.
We have a signature line there too.
Yes. Have you used those?
Yeah, so we have them sign. I mean, the counters for that day, we have them sign. You put in their name there, and then when you print out the report, there's a line for them to sign.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. So you guys use this more than just as a deposit slip. Yeah, it's good. Now, back to there, we're going to into the checkbook. Your checkbook module looks like this. And I highlighted this one check, you can kind of see it. It says Kansas Gas Service. And here's the amount. And I highlighted it because I wanted to show you what it will appear at the bottom here. It will tell you the expense category, expense group, your expense account, your comments, and then your internal accounts. Your internal category, your internal account here, and then the amount. So that shows this. You can also print it on a piece of paper, or usually you'll print it a check, but you can also print it on a piece of paper if you want. But, and then up there, back up one. Up there are the 7 buttons. And the top there is the fiscal year. Make sure I jump back and forth between fiscal year sometimes, and I got to make sure that I have the right fiscal year when I'm working in it. Okay, next one. This is the reports you get from the checkbook. It's the periodic financial report. So that's, this is the report that I have. One of them I have made is, it comes up with the 4 different tabs: the bank account, contributions report, internal accounts, and the expense account. These are the reports I give to the AB, or I would have given them to the boards. They have all 4 of those reports. And in there, where it says setup report, you can go in there and that's how you create it. Next slide. This is what it looks like when you go into a setup report. You're going to add your bank accounts, contributions, allocations, expense. This is all your options. On this one, you notice I clicked on groups only. So it will roll it up. You don't see the individual accounts. It rolls it up to the group, and now you can see the group on the report. It should very much, it's just to go in there and play with these. I even have, for the layout, I have one report called internal accounts. So all it does is produce the internal accounts. So I don't have to mess with the other ones, where I have just the expense accounts, or I just have any kind of report. You can just play with it and create as many reports as you want to customize how you're working with them. I always look at the expense accounts and the internal accounts to see if I've paid it right, or if it looks right, because a lot of times I can't remember, okay, if it comes out of this expense, what's funding it? So I have to actually go in and pull this report a lot of times to figure out really for sure which way am I going? What do I have the right accounts? And if I don't, this system is so easy, I can go in and just change it, edit it right on the spot. It's amazing how much it allows you to change the check number, the check date after you've already printed it. So you have a lot of flexibility. So this is the contribution report that comes out of that section. It's just a list of all the accounts that were for that date and the amounts that were given for that month. That's part of the report. Then I'm going to go into the payroll module so that I know some people don't use it and I know some people do, but just for those who don't use it, I want to kind of show you how it works. This is what you first go in and you'll see. And the setup is the first thing you'll have to do, but I want to show this right here with the settings for generating new payroll. We'll come back to that. But the first thing you got to do is you got to set up your employees. So go. This is me, obviously. And this is what you have, the employee number, I'm active. If you don't have that checked, it will not appear on the payroll. The name, address, my marital status, salary, my monthly, and right down here is where you identify the accounts that will be charged when you pay that person.
Right down there.
This tab is the tax withholding. On me, I have the federal income tax, Social Security, Medicare, and state income tax. We have it on table 3. I have 5 exemptions. And the reason, I learned this when I got here, that if we put it up high enough, obviously the system will not withhold from you. So what we do is we go ahead and do that, and then we put an amount we want deducted. So I know every check I am having $60 taken out. So it will not pull it based on the tables. It pulls it up by what we tell it to. So I know I thought that was interesting. I thought you'd have to go by the tables, but we didn't. And here is where you tell it the accounts to charge and to withhold to. You see, it says expense account, internal account. If you're dealing with a minister, you won't be doing this. These will be unchecked because you do not withhold Social Security or Medicare, federal or state. Now, the minister can ask you to withhold federal because that way they don't have to pay the Social Security. They don't have to pay their quarterly payments. They'll do it through this system, but it has to be in the box 2. Anything withheld has to be in box 2 as federal tax withholding. But most pastors, they just pay the quarterly payments, so you don't have to do it. But there's that option. Okay. This is the deductions and benefits thing. This is when you pay housing for a minister, or you sometimes will pay their Social Security. Housing is not federally taxed, but it is subject to Social Security. But again, it's the minister who pays that. You do not pay that for them. And down here are the accounts that you charge. And they're in different colors based on before tax or after tax. Okay, this is back at the main screen after you set up your employees. We have an employee who's bi-hourly, and then we have one who's weekly. So I wanted to show you. I clicked on the weekly, so it highlighted that person, as pending. I made sure I had the right date because we pay her on Thursday. I always produce this on a Monday or Tuesday. So obviously I have to change the date to Thursday. And then I have to make sure that the check number is correct. And when that's all correct, then I click it. It's pretty simple. And this is what it would look like. It's paid, and this is the pay stub on the right side. And behind this picture, it says you can print it. So you can print this off for anybody who would like it, employees usually. And it has the check number and the date of the check that you did it, and then it will the next one, it will go to the next check number, backup one.
Okay.
And then it's not checked any longer. You can, this is something I found out from our other church. If you made a mistake, just delete it. It'll all go back as if you had never done it. The check will go back to the system, the date. So it's not, I know that funny, but you can play with it. If you've done something wrong, easy, just delete it and go back. I know, I'm afraid. It took me a while to not be afraid, but yeah, I made a few mistakes. It was nice to know that. Okay, next one. This is what it looks like when the check it posts to your check register. The check is here, check number, and then down here, it tells you what it did. It charged this account, this expense account, funded by this internal account, and then it's withholding these. And these are the numbers that go back in. I put an example, like if your gross was 100, Social Security 620, 440, that's what those numbers would be. And then the net check would be $92.35. Next, this is your setup in your checkbook or your check register. This is your setup accounts, your bank and / internal accounts, your expense account list, your check printing, your payroll check printing, your deposit funds. This is where you go to set this up. This is the bank accounts and the internal accounts. Over here is your bank accounts. Now for you, it will be obviously your general account, which is our checking account right at the top. You might have a youth fund that would go up there. You have a savings fund that would go up there. You might have a building investment fund that would go all up there, and the balance is here. And then these are your internal accounts. The total of these internal accounts will total your bank accounts. So these must equal each other. Like what we have here is I have all our investment accounts here, all our investments account here. So, and the balance is here equal to those. So what that means is all of those other accounts equal the checking account. It's usually the checking account that's spread out. That's in other funds. If in your general operating account will be the amount of undesignated funds. Those are for payroll, for operating expenses, for ministries, unless you have designated funds here. Like we have the multicultural ministries, we have that our schools. Those are our classes. I keep a fund accounting of those funds that we have for those classes because we spend money out of them and they support themselves. And then we have district funds. Some of the churches, we handle some of their money for them, like some of them no longer are in operation. So until we sell them, we maintain them, we make sure we pay their bills. So that's where that money comes from. And these are designated funds and reserve funds and investment funds. And they all total checking account list. This is the expense account. The list basically are where your expense accounts. And you have 3 of them. You have the main account, the category, and the expense. Anytime you write a check, you have to have these accounts. You must have them. So what do you do with something you're paying that is not a budget item? You still have to create an expense account for it. Like that's what, if you see these, they're all 0 because we don't budget for them, but we write checks for them. And I've highlighted this SIM, instructor stipend. Since it's not budgeted, we have to pay it, but we do not want it to affect our budget. So what you have to do up here, where it says for expense account, SIM instructor stipend excluded from budget expenses paid from. So whenever I hit the SIM instructor account expense, I tie it with the multicultural ministry SIM internal account. When those 2 match up, those 3 expense matches up to that internal account, it will not affect your budget. It's kind of hard to understand, but that's so you can write things out of an internal account that's not budgeted, but will not affect your expense account. I'm sorry, will not affect your budget. If you go to the next slide, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here, if you look at this SIM, see that star there? That means those items that are hitting that account will not affect your expense or your budget, will not affect your budget if you have a star by it. So when you're looking at your report here, you need to look for those stars. Now, there are times you'll see on that line, it says excluded, and then it'll have another amount that's not excluded. And the reason it's not excluded is because it's not matched up with that internal account. It has to, and it only allows you 1 internal account per expense account. I know this is kind of hard and confusing sometimes, but it's really, really important.
Slow down, say that again.
Really, really important.
No.
Yeah, it basically, if you're writing a check for let's say a building, that you got money from the building account. It's not a budgeted item, and you're paying for somebody to tear down a wall or building material, but it's not coming out of your general fund, it's coming out of your building fund. So, and you didn't budget for it. So you're paying $1,000 for this object, but you don't want to affect your budget. So you hit the budget account, budget building fund / building account, the whatever, and it goes and you charge the building fund account. And you identify the building fund, internal account building fund. Anytime you do that scenario, it will not hit the budget. If you don't, your budget is going to be way out of line. You're going to show, why am I like 200% overspent? Well, it's because you've got these expenses that are not part of your budget in there. And I can help you with that if it's very hard to understand, because I know I'm going pretty quick. We can talk about it later. We can slow it down. Give me your scenario and I can help you walk you through it.
So just a quick illustration. Many churches will have fundraisers for camps. And they'll bring in hundreds of dollars for camps. And the church doesn't budget any of that money, but you're going to spend that money. So what she's trying to say is she doesn't want those funds to affect your general budget. Does that make sense? Okay.
Next one. Oh, stop, wait. The allocations. This is a report I've never used, and I don't know if any of you do, but it has a report for allocations. I'm not sure that it's accurate. And the reason why I say that is I went through some of the calculations, and they are identifying that you're required, they are showing you're requiring to pay more than what the actual amount is you're supposed to be requiring, because it's a process and they're not following the process. If I don't want to get into it, I can explain it later. So I'm just putting that out there. And the reason, another reason, if you go to the next slide, I wanted to just tell you, we just started this month, allowing you to go into funding the mission, the general church fund account. You can go in and actually pay all your allocations that process. If you do not want to fill out the spreadsheet and send the check to me, that it is up to you if it's easy for you. And I'll even show you, you see the little pencil up there? You click that on and it brings you to the screen. You just put the add to year-to-date total, the amount that you brought in, either that weekly or that monthly, however often you would do it. And then you put the date you want to post it and hit submit. And it will post it and we'll come down here and post what you just did. And if you make a mistake, as obviously all of us do, it tells you how to clean up the mistake. Then after you do that, the little present, you click that. Next one. And it'll bring you here. It will tell you how much your World Evangelism Fund is, how much your pension and benefits fund amount is. It'll show you what your district amount is. It'll show you your education. So right there, and I suggest you write them down because you can't pay them here. You have to click on the make a contribution button. Excellent. And here you would go to the World Evangelism Fund and pay it. The pension is there too sometimes. And here we just added this district contribution to Kansas City. You would go there to pay your district. Next one. Now we added M&U, so you can put them all here. What I didn't realize is they don't tell you the number, they just tell you the total for the district. So I just realized that today. I can tell you the percentages based on the total, but I cannot tell you the percentages based on just the 4%. It's broken down. It's like the district is 3.15 and 2.25 are the other two, but we can work on that later. But this is just an option. You can put it in here. You can put your bank account up there, the assembly year, the scheduled date you want to come out of your bank account. Hit continue. Next slide. And that's pretty much it. So it's pretty easy. Yes.
One quick question. We do our contributions through there, and I did find out that we've overpaid quite a bit. But can't you? I know you can go in and you can adjust those percentages on what you're paying, on what you want to pay. So I have our set, I thought, at what it's supposed to be, but it's generating more. So I'm wondering if I reduce those.
You talk about NTS system. what I have found is that when you figure out the WEF, it's not 5.5 of the base. They take the base and they reduce it down by, I think you charge, the percentage of 5.5 is on 0.92% of what you brought in. So that, therefore, the initial base is lower. So you calculate it. Then you take that base and you subtract WEF and you calculate the rest of it. That's what that is not doing. It's not lowering the base. So that's why I'm saying, even if your percentages are right, the base is what's wrong and you can't change that.
So we should use the form that the district have given us to use, or
Yeah, I would do that. That's closer. Even though Kevin, I'm told that that's not totally accurate because they work on year-to-date numbers. We work on the current month. So
I think funding the mission will calculate that for you.
Yes.
correctly, though, right?
yes, if you go back on that other page I showed you where it had the WEF and it had the P&B, those are the numbers that the funding the mission is telling you, this is what you need to pay. That's why we've done it, is because we've got to match up with their numbers. Even though that spreadsheet we created, I'm from the GMC, I'm continually told it's not accurate, it's not accurate, it's not accurate. So, okay, I want to be accurate. Let's go to funding the mission. So that's the alternative. It's the spreadsheet or it's this. It's funding the mission. You can go in and if you put the income in, on most everybody, I put the income in myself. And then I put in what you've given me. And every time it comes out right. Don't ask me why, because I really am, this is my first time at year end and I'm expecting a mess. But I'm hoping not. So that's just what I'm finding out. I could be wrong, but that's what I seem to find out when I went through it the other day. Okay, this is check printing and payroll check printing. If you go into them, next slide, this is your check printing options, your setup. They give you options up at the drop down, different checks. And I think if you need help, I've never done this because every time I've gone into the system, it's already been set up for me. But you can call David at NTS and he can help you decide, but it's pretty helpful. This, like we use for regular checks, it's the check and then 2 stubs. And it comes out pretty well. If you go to the next one, this is the payroll. And this is how it's set up with the check here. And then we have 2 stubs that fill in all the information for the people and for my files. So those are your options. The last one on this setup, it's the deposit/fund links. And this is an important one also. Go to the next page. This fund name, these are the fund names in the contribution module. They will take all of those funds that you created, and then on the internal accounts, you need to match them up with an internal account. Basically saying, okay, when I get funds here, where does it go to the internal accounts? Like my tithe, well, that will go to the general operating. What about your Sunday school? Does the funds of your Sunday school, do they come in and totally support your Sunday school program or totally support everything? Or do you just get a little bit and the general operating fund has to support it? At one of our churches, I put the Sunday school straight into the general fund because it did not bring in enough money to support it. So the general operating fund always had to support it. So all that count. So I just had the Sunday school going into the general account. So like I've got these set up, I have WEF set up to an apportionment / our WEF. So those, and these are important. And the reason they're important is for your deposits, because you'll go into the contribution module. You will input all of your information, who gave what and for what fund. And we'll see later how it affects. But you've got to have everything set up here. The next thing is the deposit. Next slide. This is why that one is so important, because in the check module, it has this option of an auto deposit. I know some people go into the contributions, put everything in, then they turn around and go into the checkbook and put everything in by item. This way you don't have to. You go, you click the deposit and you make sure that this date is the date of the deposit you're wanting. Maybe the Sunday that you're depositing it, and this date range is correct. And this will self-populate and it'll give you a deposit. If this is right, and if this is information correct, if this is a deposit you want to put in the checkbook, then you hit auto post. and it will automatically post, puts everything into the account, but you've got to have them linked up. You've got to tell a computer, okay, if it comes on this side, I want it to go over here on this side. And this is called a recall deposit, and I would not suggest using it here because it could be totally different. And I'll explain what that is later. Now we have expense adjustments. Do you guys use these adjustment buttons at all? Yeah. Expense adjustment is it's used when you're wanting to move money from one account to another account. This is how I use it. And you have to charge an expense account. Say like, for instance, out of your children's budget, you want to help support a child going to camp, but you've got to charge your budget. So you do an expense adjustment and you would charge it. We did it here because we had scholarships with the Leadership Development Multicultural Initiative. She wanted to sponsor some education in our classes. So I charged that, and then I put it back into our scholarship account to pay for the school, not our scholarship account, but into the school tuition. So it came out of one fund and went into another. So that's one way. In expense adjustments, you have to have these 3 accounts. And then you would hit save once you've figured it out, that you've got it correct. The negative and positive, so it would equal 0. Okay, this is an income adjustment. Basically, you don't have to have expense accounts, which is nice. You're just moving money on the income side. And here I would make an adjustment to correct a deposit, to correct this. So all I had to do is just put a comment there and the internal accounts I was doing and the amount, and everything is okay. And then I just hit save. Now, when I do this, I write up a sheet of paper and I call it an income adjustment or an expense adjustment and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, because the auditors are going to come back and say, why did you do this? You just can't just flip it and make transactions in the account. Auditors will come back and ask you that.
Is it sufficient, like we're doing it between 2 accounts, a restricted account, and a checking account? Is it okay to just put the comment in? Is that sufficient for the auditors, or do we need to explain it more?
If you can understand it, I mean, if somebody who doesn't know what's going on can come and look at this and understand it, it would be sufficient. But somebody from outside, you have to think, somebody from outside, can they look at this and know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it? I still take a chance because I forget. So I just write it out and put a file. I have a file that says transfers or adjustments. So go to the next slide.
So question.
Yeah.
If I want to move money from our regular checking account into the savings account, which one do I use?
You would use this income adjustment. If you go to the next slide, Wayne, here is double entry. Designated funds, I did not put it in the right account. So I had to move from dental to the medical. This is how you would do it. You would move it from here, from this internal account to the other. Yes.
I
Income
don't know
adjustment.
if the old system has that.
Yeah.
I'm having issues with it.
Yeah. But this basically is moving money in the internal accounts. It's a double entry income adjustment. And the nice thing about this is it does not show up in your transfers, and I'll show you what that is. We're moving money. It just appears in the income and output. So if you go to the next slide, this is the transfer over there. It's double entry, just like that income adjustment. Doing the same thing. Make sure that you have all your information, and then you save it, and then go to the next slide and I'll show you what happens. It appears in this column that says transfer at the top, and it will appear on the reports. So if you want them to appear, you want it to be shown, you want everybody to know what's going on. You know, I'm moving this money to this account. It will show up in your transfer column. If it's income that not necessarily is it important for anybody to see, you're just making an adjustment, you do it through your income adjustment. But here in the transfer, like Eddie will ask me to move money from here to here. So I do that so the DAB can see it, so the board can see it, so people can see that I actually have done it. That's why I use the transfer.
I can't pick my transfer buttons to work. I've played around with it so many times, and anytime I put anything in, it just, nothing happens.
You might need to call Dave and ask him.
Okay,
Yeah,
I need a number before we leave.
yeah, I have his
That's-
number. It's on the last slide. So, okay, so,
My bad.
yeah, so we're done.
Oh,
I gotta see what this one. Oh, this is interest. When you get interest in your checking account, you just hit the interest button. And this is a recall interest. This is what a recall button is. Anytime you put a vendor in, like this is interest, doesn't have a vendor. It has this. These are all the ones that I've had with interest, and I just click this on. It fills everything up, even the amount. If the amount's different, you can change it. Hit save and you're done. So easy. Okay, next slide. Now, this is the check. Make sure the check number is correct. Sometimes it will go caps lock, so I always really have to check that. You type in the vendor that you're paid to and make sure the date is correct. Next slide. I put AT&T, and then you can see that recall check came up on the right side. I clicked that. Next slide. And it fills everything in. I just have to make sure that the numbers, the amounts are the right, and I click save. It's so easy. Checks are so easy. And just make sure your date's right. Usually the current date you're working in is that. Most of the time that's what I do. Sometimes what I'm doing some payroll is what I have to change the dates for. So I really like that feature. I can write 10, 15 checks and be done in like 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, e-checks, electronic checks, when something hits your bank account electronically. This is how you do it. You click on the e-check, it will come up with a number. You can change that if you want. If you don't like that number that it comes up with, sometimes it comes up with the current date and you need to backdate it. Like that's what a lot of times on the month-end stuff, when I'm reconciling, I have charges and I click e-check, but I have to change that back to the previous month. And then you can go ahead and click the next one. It comes up with the recall, same thing. Next one. Oh, that was it. But it basically said I recall and you hit save and it's done and it's posted. The reports. This is section, honestly, I don't go into. I pull all my reports from the checkbook by the reports tab. And these, you can keep going forward. The first one I'm going to show you is the reconciliation report. I know some people don't use this, but it's so handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just go in and anytime something is on your bank statement, you just click it and it throws it over here on your reconciliation. You can see it just started turning them yellow. Did you notice that? Like about a month or two ago. When you click it on his reconciled item, it turned it yellow. It's like, whoa, this is a nice feature. So you know by just sight, if it's not yellow, it's not reconciled. It's not on the bank statement yet. So that in the arrow, I just have it from here to here identifying that. And up there, it's your beginning balance of your checkbook, your credits, and your debits. Which
I go too fast.
no, it's fine. But it's very easy to do. The next transaction detail report. This is a month. No, I'll show you. This is how many use this report? Transaction detail report. It is. Yeah, I pull it down. This is what I use sometimes to reconcile my bank account because if I can't find something, I can pull this down and I can manipulate, throw it into an Excel file and just do whatever. Or if I'm looking for something, or if I'm grouping transactions or types of things. So this is really great because you can actually identify it by filters, what you want, and then you can export it, put the date and export it. Next slide. And even here, you can say, yes, no, I don't want this. And then you can save to a file. And then it comes up as a CSV file. And that's when you identify, you give it its title, save it as a CVS file. Go ahead. Oh, and then pull it up and then save it as an Excel file. And then you can just do whatever you want. The next one is annual work. I've never actually used it. Go ahead to the next slide. This is what it looks like, but I've never done it because obviously we don't have to do it at the district level.
However, I can speak to this though.
Yes.
So the numbers in the parentheses there match the same numbers on the annual pastor's report. That's where the NTS system can really be helpful on, I think it's the 3rd page or 4th page on the online annual pastor's report. This is where this really helps you. This simplifies that end of the year report greatly. So at the end of the year, if you submit this report to your pastor, he or she will love you, probably give you a hug and buy you steak, because there's a lot involved here. And so that's where that report really comes in handy there.
How do you get the information? Because I'm trying to pull that up to see if it's gonna work. The numbers at the bottom are all zero.
There-
So,
I think you have to do that in the setup files. And if you click on, do you know what she's talking about down here?
Okay.
Do you know how that? works?
So on the annual pastor's report, which is probably something you don't have access to unless if your pastor gives it to you, there are a couple of things that have to be filled out by the pastor. So they'll take these numbers, add that to what he or she's already working on. So this won't be a complete report, but this will be a very handy thing for whoever is filling out that financial page. So yeah, so as soon as your end of the year is done, I would print that and I would give that to your pastor, whoever's putting that report out. And that will simplify that particular sheet quite a bit,
Or the pastor will just have the treasurer fill out that part.
especially if they're married to him, right?
Next slide. And there's setup files there. You can set them, you have to set them up, where to go. And I think, like I said, I haven't used it, but I think there's a setup. You had it at the top. You can set it, go in those files and change them. It could work. The budget planning report. I've not used this. Some have used this. If you want to go to the next slide. And that it gives you the current budget, what has been paid out and what your balance is as of right now. And then use the other column for your budget. I've not used it. I've used it in Excel file. Next slide. And I put arrows on these ones that I don't, so you know. But like this one, the statement of activities, that is a income statement. It shows your income and it shows your expenses, like for your state range. If you want a month, that's kind of cool just to see it. Next slide. And now exit. And I circled this because if if you go and hit the X at the top, it will not save your stuff. If you hit this exit, you have to hit this exit for it to save in the backup. So I learned that from the person I was working with. She goes, "Oh, you got to do this." I said, "Why?" Because it will save. So anyhow, so the next slide. Now NTS. This is where you go to get information if you have questions. This is the website. And like at the top here, it says contributions, checkbook, reports. You go under there and have answer every question you think that you have. This is where you go. I have the top 10, but go to the next slide. Like under the contributions, as set up contributions, reports, receipts, and pledges. And then these are all the questions that they answer for each one. And next slide. This is a checkbook, set up checks, deposit. And those are all the questions that just go on forever, all across. And so, is that the last slide?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually downloaded every single one of these. So I have them on my computer under manual. I can send them to you if you want them. There's also, when I was doing this, there's also a manual. But as I was looking at it, I wouldn't use it for nothing because it's just words, 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 no pictures. So forget it. I'm not going to use it. So I have that. But for each question, it came when I saved it, it left two files. One looked like an envelope file. The other file was a disk, like a Chrome. You have to open up the Chrome, but you also have to have the other file for it to open up. Just so you know, don't delete anything. Just go down where the Chrome is at and open them up. So if you want those, I can email that to you as well as these slides if you are interested in anything.
Okay, we're going to take a 5.5 minute break. And because you've got information overload, and I understood about 1/32 of what she just said. So I want you to take a little break, drinks, snacks, and then at 7:30, we'll just resume back here and we'll do a gob of Q&A. That'd be all right? All right. So stand, jumping jacks, go sing in the rain, whatever you need to do. Okay. We can-
So I used to.
So if you know what the percentages are, or you know what the
Yeah, so
values say,
all right, so.
The NTS system.
Can I help you with something? I just want to. Here, let me help you. I'll shift it. You go back.
I don't think.
Whichever one
You
you
need
want.
to contact David.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I thought I had his number. Hey, Wayne, on one of the sheets, where's David's number? Can you click back to a couple of the sheet? No, David, the NTS guy. She's asking how does she get it loaded up? I said she needs to contact David, and it's on one of those,
Okay.
the last.
Make sure you can email it to us.
Yeah,
That would be good.
yeah. Do you want to email me first? That way I can turn it on. Just ask me what you need.
No, sorry.
Because we're going to. We're a pack church, right? We're going to the church. If we are a pack church, we cannot use the system, can we?
You can.
Then as a pack church.
Yes, you can. Actually, I talked to Rachel about that today. So yeah, you can. Global Ministry Center is a little vague on how they like to use the packs and how they want them to report. Ultimately, the parent church has to show the numbers, but they like to see from the actual church plant, in your case, how things are progressing. So it looks like you guys will be doubling up on numbers, but you're not, because the system knows that those numbers that you're giving feed in to the English-speaking congregation. So really, I suggested, Rachel, both of you fill out the report. Yeah. I'm trying to come up with this here
Okay.
to see if I can find it here.
Where do I found that website? I just think I was looking on Google.
Okay.
Is that on the Church of the Nazarene or the Kansas City District? No, it's just
It's,
separate.
yeah, it's not.
In the PowerPoint, I have the.
It's not coming up though.
But I would love to send. Can you send me the?
Oh, yeah, I can send it.
Yeah, we will send that
In
to
the
you.
PDF.
Yes, I will send you everything. I have
Okay.
it. Yeah, no, I have it.
Yes.
Not a big deal.
I just put a note. Send to a friend, yeah, to Anna.
Okay. So that is, Oakland? What?
What kind of surgery did you have?
Bunion, because it infiltrated the joint, then when you put pins in and took a graft.
When was it?
It was March.
Wow.
It was much more involved than I realized it was gonna be.
I've never given it.
Sitting on your behind for 2 months. That's not good. Jim has to do grocery shopping for a long time. That's not for 12 months.
It's figuring it out. We're figuring it out.
I ended up ordering stuff for him to pick up.
I think it's great. See, I think that's where he's usually because if it's too much to change stuff. Okay, friends. That was the fastest 5.5 minutes, right? So.
Here's what I think might be the most valuable. I know some of you are going to say, at our church, we have this, and this. So I think what I'd like is if we could try to zero our questions that are a little bit more general in nature, so everybody can benefit from those questions. I think we'll get bogged down if we deal with little in the little minutia of everything. And if you have some of those really specific type questions, we can hang around a little bit afterwards and see if we can help you with those, or she will. I'll be here for moral support. You want to just jump into it? Anybody got a question that you want to just kind of fire out to say, hey, what about this or the system or something like that? Anybody online as well, feel free. Yeah, we didn't get a chance to get introduced to you though. You are?
My name's Matt. I'm the treasurer for Null Avenue Church of the Nazarene.
Very good.
I kind of got thrown into it a couple years ago and still feeling my way through it.
No, you mean God called you to do it.
Sure, yeah, for sure.
Big difference.
I was pushed. I needed a push.
Yeah, well, that happens. We all do. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. What's your question?
No problem. Well, our church uses QuickBooks Online. And so I was mainly just coming here to see the platform and kind of get feedback. I've heard great things and bad things about NTS. And so I was just kind of curious what the setup process looks like. If I should just call David and kind of get is it a flat monthly fee or an annual fee to have it? Either just
Yes, your
some of that
choice.
stuff.
We pay by the annual, one lump sum, and some people pay it monthly.
We just started almost a year ago with it, and the setup was real easy. Like, I just called him and was like, and I also was like, I'm the treasurer, I don't have any idea. And he just was, it was great. He like walked me through everything and could call and ask questions. So the setup.
And anytime you have a problem, David will take over your computer and look through and see what you did. And correct, I'm serious.
And say you messed up.
Yeah, you messed up. That's the great thing about David is he will just do whatever he can to help you.
Is it just David?
Yes.
Okay.
The number on, and I'll send it out if you want it, just email me. It's just,
I think I saw it on one of his web pages, but I
Yes.
didn't know if you had a team or if it's just
Nope,
he's the one.
it's just
one guy.
him.
So what happens when David?
we don't know
Or do I
yet.
not ask that? I hope he never-
David's going to live on forever.
Yeah.
Well, before David, it was Robert.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe let's just kind of make this a group support system. Tell us some of the best practices that you've had in terms of setting up your system personally. What have you done to what you think has been beneficial? That obviously people that are on it right now. Anybody care to share that?
Or share anything that you saw that you do differently or that you do in addition to something that has helped you. Like some of the things I pointed out that have helped us or helped me when I was doing like the auto deposit or linking the budget thing so it won't show in the budget. Is there anything you guys have learned that would be helpful for others to know?
So we don't do our own payroll. But I went in and entered everything and scheduled them so that whenever the schedule comes up, it just tells me. So all I have to do is hit that and it automatically fills it in. So even though it's an e-check at that point, but it just, I mean, I schedule as many things as I can because I don't have to remember then, and I'm old. So it just makes it simple.
I've never used a schedule feature, but.
Yeah, I used it all the time.
That is nice for reoccurring things. It's
Yeah,
about every month and
Exactly. The things you know are going to happen,
yeah.
and you can change
it comes-
amounts.
When you first open your checkbook, it drops down and it says, the things that are coming up that are due, and you just click on it and then hit post and it either does a check or doesn't check or whatever you want it to do. It's pretty nice.
Good. What other questions?
Question, I don't know. This, so, yeah, someone someone else that does the contributions. And so that's why we use the different passwords. So they have their own passwords for the contributions, and I have mine for the checkbook and different things. And so I don't get into that part. And so the people that are doing that make the deposits, and then I go in on the checkbook side and hit the deposit and the auto post. But so we have online giving through Tidely, and checks and cash that come in end up on that auto post, but our Tidely doesn't. I think in our last, in the district meetings, somebody was saying you can click on that to do the, yes,
Electronic file transfer.
yeah. But, it's probably more of a question on their side, but when I do that, it still doesn't, it gives a total. It doesn't give it each individual one. So like when I get the bank statement to reconcile it, it has every single, the 60 different Tidely's that's come in, but those don't all show up on my thing, on my deposit when I do it. And then if I use what they do, it doesn't ever match the bank statement.
So do you do as an upload? An import? Do you import the information?
From where?
Tidely.
I don't know, because they do that part, so I don't know how they're doing that.
So one of the things that can happen when you have, like, basically importing online giving, where it's, that information comes from the bank, we had, where the amounts per person was the amount that they donated. So they put like $20 on the thing, and it showed up as $20 for this person. But then there's like the fees for the auto, or for the online giving or whatever, gets taken out of that, and so it wasn't matching up, so we'd have to manually go in and add in the adjustments for the bank fees.
So did you do that like on one line, or did you do that for each individual entry?
So we did, once a week, we would go and pull all that, and so we did one per week, so it wouldn't be itemized like this donation, whatever it would be for this statement, whatever, this is the amount. And it's like, it didn't always match up. We used a different system for contributions as well, and it didn't always match up because the date that it said they gave isn't always the date that the bank processing.
That's what I think that was happening. So my question, I guess, would be like, actually, on our bank statement, like I don't put anything in each week when I do a deposit. I don't put any of the online giving in. At the end of the month, when I get the bank statement, or the beginning of the month, when I get the previous month's bank statement, I just go through and just calculate everything that came in through Tidely, and I make one deposit myself for the last day of the month and put the total that came in for online. Is that?
But are you getting that on their individual giving record?
I think that's all. I mean, that's all on their side, on the contribution side.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know.
We use electronic stewardship technologies. And I've always, me as a contributor through stewardship technologies, I can go in and print off my own report. So at the end of the year, I don't include the electronic giving on the contributor's report. Contributor's report is only the things that were given through the church, at church.
Oh, wow.
So I get a report from the church, and then I go into the electronic side and print off my own contribution report. That's how we've done it.
So to
But-
answer one of your questions on the QuickBooks, do you have where you get a contributor report that you can print out for people at the end of the year?
We use Church Community Builder for all the details, so I just put the summaries in QuickBooks.
Oh, okay. All right, because that's one thing the NTS system does have. It's really easy to do the end of the year contributor report. You just click a few buttons and it just spits it all out for you. It's awesome.
But I look at deposit dates on the report that stewardship technology gives me. I look at deposit dates, not all the other dates that they give. But if 4 people gave and the deposit date's the same, the reconciliation report includes all 4 of those. So I have to total them up. But I also do it only once a month. I do it at the end of the month, and
Okay. So that's legal. I guess that's what I'm asking.
well,
you.
again, I'm not entering them into the contribution side.
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm not-
making a deposit.
Yeah.
So,
Because when I called and, wasn't even one of my questions when I called, I think I was actually Robert. I mean, I don't know, David, but he, took over my computer like he does. And he's like, where's all your online giving? And I'm like, well, see that one big number at the end of the month? He's like, oh, well, if you get audited, basically, you should, like on your bank statement, you should have you reconcile every single thing that's on your bank statement. So, I wasn't sure.
We actually insert it on, we check it every week. We insert it on the day that it goes through the bank. So we look internally and we see that it deposited on the 10th. So we put it on that person in contributions for the 10th.
On the 10th, okay.
And then when we're doing a reconciliation, it basically matches up with the bank.
So does that, each individual title come in on their deposit? When you transport your deposit into the checkbook or into your deposit, and it's got all the different lines, so, something comes in for different things, are all those different amounts listed separately?
Yes, if you put them in contributions, it will be just the same way as you do that with other types of contributions.
All right. Okay.
For different funds and things. Yes.
Good. What else? It's another question, comment.
I think one of the early on slides, did I see where you can set up different passwords for different levels of access? So you can have your person doing contributions have access to that, and then your person doing expenses, checks and stuff without seeing each other's stuff.
Yeah, they do it.
That's what we do.
Okay. One person has to have a master password. There is a master that always stays active, and they can get into anything with that, but then you change all the other ones in there to whoever's doing it with their stuff. And then I can't get into the contributions, and the contributions can't get into the check.
So who do you have as a type of master?
Our secretary, our board secretary has the.
I must have a master because I can get into everything. I said, I must have a master because we do have,
The account originally comes as just open. So you have to, because we were like, oh, everybody has the same password and we didn't kind of realize that everybody was able to open anything that they wanted. Anybody that got on the computer could get on it and stuff. And so that's how we figured out that we could go on it. Do separate. But there's still always a master that goes into the open separate.
does anybody go, when they do their bank reconciliation, go to the bank online and pull down the transactions like I was showing you in NTS, pull them down, and that way you can pull them into an Excel file and you can sort them. I sort mine by check number, and that way I reconcile pretty quickly. I mean, I have scans. To go through a bank statement is a nightmare. So that's how I reconcile it, is by pulling it from the bank in transactions.
That's the way we do it.
You do it too?
I give my finance committee an output from the bank and an output from NTS. And then they go through it together, line by line, and I sort them in the right data order.
Yeah.
And that's how we reconcile each month.
But then it doesn't get back into the NTS so that it has all the little bars.
We can double click that. Well, actually, we do that as the person who is seeing it go through the bank, we kind of do that prior to giving that out to the finance committee.
Yeah, I do that, because every time I pay WEF and P&B for every church, it comes up a line, so I get multiple lines. And so what I do is I pull it and put it into an Excel file. I take all those things that are identified on that one date, add them together, and if it matches what I have in NTS, I'm done. Right there. It's like, yeah, no, that's fine. And then I sort all the check numbers in order, and boom, I'm done. Yeah, so that is a fast way of reconciling the bank statement.
Next question.
Multiple accounts on one thing, but you have separate bank accounts.
Yes, you have to identify the bank account. On that one slide where I showed the internal accounts and the bank accounts. Your bank accounts are up here and you create them and you put the total in here and then, but you have to have corresponding internal accounts, like you would name it the same. That's what I would do. If it's like a building fund account, you've got investment building fund, that's what I'd label it, put the total here, and then an internal account to match it. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, our use cases, we have our main church account, our affiliated church account, and then a Passion Ministry Center account. So they do need to be kind of separate.
Yeah, but you separate them in your checking accounts in the top part, and then you create them. And then their own internal accounts, you create the category of your compassionate ministries, and then put under that, and those would correspond with each other.
Can I ask a question related to that? So once you put in, like, for example, I have to set up an HRA account for us because they changed everything on us, and now they keep all the money in our checking account instead of just taking it out of the. And I'm trying to figure out how to have that separate. So I created the HRA account. Do I then also have to set up an expense account where we take it out, or how does that work? I'm really confused about that.
So you have an account that they're putting money away for HSA, what you said?
Yeah, we use a reimbursement account.
Yeah, so you have to expense it first and put it into that internal account, correct?
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to figure, how do I put the amount of money that's supposed to go into the HRA account? How do I move that in there?
You can do that through a transfer, or you can do that through an income transaction adjustment or an expense transaction adjustment, depending on what you need to do. If you need to expense it, if it's a budgeted item and you need to expense it, like we put money away for, like General Assembly or for District Assembly, for General Assembly, every month, we have to put some money away. So we expense it where we budgeted, then we put it into an internal account so it'll stay there. So every month I have to do an entry charging it. And I think I do it through the expense adjustment because it has to, yeah, because yes. And I do that. I can show you how we do it off the top of my head. I can't remember how you do the flip side of it. Yeah.
I might call.
No, that's
when I sit down. with
yeah,
them, try to
that's
figure
fine.
it out.
Yeah, but you have to expense it. So you have to do an adjustment, expense adjustment, and then you do the opposite side. So you hit the account and then you put it into the other account that you need it to go into. It'll accumulate that way. And then when you actually go spend it, you actually have to have an account, but you want to set it so it won't affect the budget account because you've already expensed it.
There's nothing set up on budget on ours, and I wouldn't have a clue how to do that. It's all zero.
Yeah,
Well, that's
what I'm
I
saying.
looked at that, I go, oh, what to do with that, so.
Yeah, you have to set it up so it won't affect it since you're not budgeted.
Any comments or questions from our friends online right now? I want you to feel like you're not able to ask a question, so feel free to chime in if you have one.
Well, I
Good
had
night,
one.
Now you got to go one at a time, friends. Teresa, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I don't have one right now. I'm good. I'm just taking
Okay,
notes.
thanks. Agnes?
Well, how do you do an in and out category and make it show up on your the list of where your money's at?
Are you talking about the internal accounts?
Yeah.
You just create an internal account called in and out, the category, and then under that, you would list all the different items that would go under your in and out. Like I would put youth camps in there under in and out because you receive the money in, the money goes out. Your children's camps would go in, all your ministries, your alabaster, your anything that comes in, VBS offering, when we take offerings for VBS that goes into GMC, all that stuff is in and out. It is not a budgeted thing. It is just an in and out. I would create the in and out, and I would put all those things underneath that. So when the money comes in, you on the contribution side, it would say alabaster, youth camp, children's camp, adult retreat, whatever. And then you link it up to the internal account saying in and out, youth account, in and out, or youth camp, in and out, children's camp. And so you link those together. That's where the money would go, and it would sit there until you spend it. Does that make sense?
That's what I didn't do is I didn't link it. I put one in, but it's not showed up that the money is there.
Yeah, you probably didn't link it.
Yeah. How do you link it?
It's under the setup button on the checkbook, and it's under, I think, something internal account funds / internal accounts at the bottom. You click that on, it will come up with the funds from your contribution side with you, and then on your right side it'll say your internal accounts. And you have to make sure that the contribution side has an internal account linked to it. It'll on the same
Okay.
line. That's how
I'll
you
look
set
at
them
that.
up.
See. Okay.
Yes,
I'll
it's
check that
very
tomorrow.
important.
But Brian, did you
Yeah,
have
I
a
thought,
question?
where is that
Oh, I'm
money?
sorry. Yeah, right. Brian, did you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I had a couple of them if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
All right, so is this NTS, is this a web-based app or is it a local like network PC install to like
It's
is
PC
it web-based
install.
where I can access it wherever I am, or do I have to be at my PC like at church and doing it from there?
I think it's backed up by the cloud.
It is.
And you can put it on multiple computers.
Yeah, and you can put on, yeah, 3 with your
With
license.
with our license.
I think it is 3. Yep.
Did you catch that, Brian?
Yeah, so is there like a install I can do on like my home PC to where I can access NTS from there without having to come into my church office computer and use
Yeah.
it from there?
Yeah, you can use it on 3 different devices, your license.
Okay. Because that's what I use Power Church Online right now, and I can access that wherever I'm in. I just got to install their client wherever I'm using it at. So it makes it easier on my job. Then
Sure.
the second question I had was for the payroll taxes. Is that information, is that updated via like a system update, like, or if the Fed changes withholding tax rates like FICA or Medicare and all that, will I have to go in and manually update that for payroll tax withholdings and stuff?
Yeah, the system will update. They send out updates periodically, and that's one of the updates is the tax tables.
Okay. That's one of the things I like now, not having to worry about updating that myself. So
No, we don't update it myself. We would
Yeah.
not do that.
Very good.
okay.
Anything else from anyone?
Anybody else use the budget?
Yeah.
I find it too.
And we use the budget planner. Makes it easy.
At a local church, I would. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the job when we were doing it. At this level, we don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Local church, we used it a lot, didn't we? Yeah.
Good. What else?
I'm also focused on my district, and we're looking at other systems. Is there any place that I can look at this system without having to purchase it?
Yeah, you can actually get a 30-day or 60-day. I can't remember. I think it's a 30-day free trial. So you could
Yeah,
just,
but I still would have to go through all the setup.
you'd have to go through the setup, yes. Mhm. I mean, when you do that, it's like you're buying it, but they're just giving you a free 60 days to check it out. So it'd be a lot of upfront time to familiarize yourself with that.
Right.
But they at least give that provision.
The reason we did this is because they do not have any kind of training. The most training they have are those questions online. You have a question, you dig for it, you pull up the sheet, and then you try to figure it out. So that's why we came together and did this.
Come over to Victor Hills and we'll show you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do any of you know if you move from the old treasury system to the new one, if you can transfer everything over?
I would have asked David, but yeah.
I'm almost certain that
Mhm.
everything transfers over.
Depending on how far back you are, they may make you take certain upgrade steps. You can't just go from where you are clear, take your.
Really?
Yeah, and depending on how old you're first.
Oh, I think it's very old.
Yes,
But
so,
ancient.
but they'll tell you what you'll have to do, but you'll have to be careful with that. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I just need to talk my board into, getting it.
You got about 20 friends here that'll help you talk them into that. Anything else? You're all professionals. We're all going to go home and write a book.
You said we're all learning.
Now you're learning professionals.
Yeah, I can't speak Spanish. You need a class for me to learn how to speak Spanish.
Right. Could barter. That's great. Well, okay, friends, we really appreciate your time. We realize that it's not easy to get out, especially in the middle of the week. And for some of you, you drove quite a ways, and we appreciate that very, very much. You have our contact up on that there, and I gave it out earlier as well. Feel free to contact us about NTS, contact her. Because you call me and I'm going to pray for you, and then I'm going to forward you over to her. But nonetheless, though, so we really appreciate it. If you want to stick around, ask a more detailed maybe question that's pertinent to your particular situation, feel free to do that for a few minutes. We're happy to stay around. But thank you very much. Thanks for our friends here online as well. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thanks for what you all are doing in your local churches. We appreciate it greatly. The church crashes without you. You know that, right? It just comes to a halt without you. And so thank you. The two most important people in every church, the treasurer and the sound technician. Okay, I'm just saying, without those two, it's over. So thanks very much. We appreciate it. And again, please be safe on your way home, and call us if you need to.
Wayne, can you give me her email address again?
Yes, you ready?
Yeah.
W Nelson at kcdistrict.org.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Agnes. Glad you could join us. And Teresa, you as well. Glad you could
Thank
join
you.
us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
God bless you.
It
all.
was interesting.
The what? Yeah, I'll make a note and send it to you because I don't have it. I don't think I have that in front of me. Let me check here. And